He ain't lying. I just wish I could have been out, you know what I'm saying? To prevent a lot of shit, but you know. But nah, Foz, he ain't lying.
Before they were gone, Munna Duke and Youngin, two of Von's closest people, dropped some heavy truths about his murder. They named names, pointed fingers, and now some are saying they said too much. Word on the street is they got silenced. What did they reveal? And who did they expose? Let's get into it. The death that shook Chicago. The early morning hours of November 6th, 2020, forever changed the landscape of Chicago drill and the lives of those closest to King Von. Outside Monaco Hookah Lounge in Atlanta, what started as a verbal back and forth between Von's squad and Quando Rondo's crew quickly escalated to gunplay, leaving King Von fatally wounded. At just 26, one of drill's most promising voices was silenced. His life cut short as his career was hitting new heights. The news of Von's passing sent shockwaves through the industry, but nowhere did it hit harder than in O'Block, where Von had elevated from local figure to global rap star. For Munna Duke, who was still behind bars when Von caught his fate, the devastating news traveled through the prison grapevine, robbing him of the chance to say his final goodbyes to his day one.
And he gets locked up. I mean, you get locked up. And does he pass away when you're in jail?
Yeah, probably like 4-5 months before I got out. Yeah, that shit happened. Yeah, like 4 or 5 months.
Damn.
Yeah.
Man, what was that like for you when you got the news?
Shit, I couldn't believe that shit. That shit fucked me up. From, talking to him every day. Well, I ain't gonna say every day, but you know what I'm saying? Just seeing how shit going, see how bro them living from off the pictures and shit like that.
You can hear the raw pain in Duke's words, revealing the shock and devastation he felt learning about Von's murder. Being locked up added another layer of isolation to Duke's grief, forcing him to process losing his brother without the support of the block, or even the ability to attend Von's homegoing. This separation during such a crucial moment left emotional scars that wouldn't easily heal. Von's death rippled throughout the facility where Duke was housed, affecting everyone from fellow inmates to the COs themselves.
It was really kind of like unreal to me, because I'm like, damn, you know what I'm saying? Like seeing bro them seeing him in the magazine, seeing him, on the tablet and shit like that. So I'm like, then talking to him like, man, when you get out, man, woo, you know what I'm saying? So a lot of this shit was like damn, you know what I'm saying? Like we in it, you know what I'm saying? But that shit, you know what I'm saying? That shit happened, whatever the case is, so,
What was the reaction from the jail when they found out that he passed away?
Man, the jail that I was in, they was up, you know what I'm saying? From the correctional officers and all type of shit, you know what I'm saying? Because they for him too, you know what I'm saying? And they for me off the strength for him, you know what I'm saying? So they kind of jail up, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The fact that even guards were shaken by Von's murder speaks volumes about his reach and charisma. In the strictly divided world of lockup, where inmates and staff rarely see eye to eye, Von's music and persona had somehow bridged that gap, creating connections that transcended the usual boundaries. For Youngin, who was in the free world when Von got knocked down, the loss was both personal and professional. As a younger artist looking to follow Von's blueprint, Youngin had viewed him not just as a homie, but as a mentor who had mapped out the path from the block to the booth. Von's success had created a lane for O-Block artists to follow, and his sudden removal left a void that many, including Youngin, would strive to fill in the years after. Von's absence also created a leadership vacuum within O-Block's hierarchy. Beyond his music moves, Von had been a respected voice whose influence extended throughout the hood. His death forced relationships and responsibilities to shift, with Duke eventually stepping into a more prominent role when he touched down. In interviews after his release, Duke consistently painted Von as a real one who stayed true to his roots even as his bank account grew. In a January 2024 sit-down, Duke kept it simple but real about Von's character.
Now, when it comes to King Von, what was he really like?
As far as what?
As a person.
As a person?
Yes.
He was a genuine person, like real stand-up guy, loyal. Go look out for, you know what I'm saying? Like, make sure everybody around him good, you know what I'm saying? If he had a chance to, you know what I'm saying, a better person situation, he was a real good dude.
This description matches what others have said about Von as someone who put loyalty and taking care of his squad above everything. Even as his paper stacked up, Von stayed connected to the O and committed to bringing up those who had been riding with him from the jump. Grieving Von's murder was complicated by the ongoing cycle of violence that had already claimed so many young lives in Chicago. For Duke, Youngin, and others from the block, Von's death wasn't just a personal loss, but another reminder that even making it in music couldn't fully protect you from the consequences of street life. This reality created a complex emotional mix of grief, anger, and determination to keep Von's name alive. When Duke finally came home, he found himself inheriting some of Von's role as an O-Block ambassador with connections in the industry. This wasn't a position Duke had been chasing, but one that naturally fell to him through his long history with Von and his own growing presence in the drill world. In the months and years after Von's murder, both Duke and Youngin continued to reference him in their tracks and interviews, making sure his memory stayed alive both in the O and beyond. Their commitment to keeping Von's name ringing wasn't just talk. It showed in how they moved, the creative decisions they made, and their determination to carry on what Von had started. The clearest example of this dedication came through Duke's music, which often echoed Von's unique storytelling flow while adding his own flavor and experiences. Tracks like Murder, featuring posthumous verses from Von, served as both tribute and continuation, showing how Von's influence lived on even after he was gone. For Youngin, carrying Von's torch meant embodying the raw authenticity that had made Von's music hit so different. His lyrics, which didn't sugarcoat the realities of O-Block life, maintained the tradition of using music to document and process the harsh conditions of their environment. Beyond their music, both Duke and Youngin worked to keep Von's memory alive through their actions and words. Duke especially would speak on Von in interviews, sharing stories and insights that gave fans a glimpse of the real person behind the King Von persona. These efforts weren't just about keeping Von's streams up, but about ensuring the full measure of who he wasn't lost in the sensationalized narratives that often surrounded his life and death.
Do you have a favorite memory with Von that you could share?
I got so many memories with him, like, but the memory I'm gonna share with y'all is like when he first came home, and then he asked me what you think? You think I should start rapping and shit? But me being me, I'm getting that hell no, you know what I'm saying? Cause we ain't never rap a day in our life type shit. So it's like, but I wasn't thinking of it, you know what I'm saying? I'm just like, man, hell no, cause I couldn't see it, but shit, he turned out to did that shit. That shit changed my life.
The aftermath of Von's murder also saw an intensification of the ongoing beef between rival factions in Chicago's drill world. The circumstances of Von's death, catching a fatal bullet in a dispute with another rapper's squad, mirrored the very street conflicts that had been the subject of so much drill music, blurring the lines between lyrics and reality in disturbing ways. As Duke reflected on Von's impact during a 2023 interview, he expressed not just personal grief, but recognition of what Von had meant to their entire hood.
How did his death affect your guys' block?
It affected us like a lot, you know what I'm saying? He was one of the, you know what I'm saying? Like kind of big bro over there, you see what I'm saying? Like he was kind of one of the older ones, you know what I'm saying? It affected us a little. It hurt us though, I ain't gonna lie, it hurt us.
Yet amid the grief and chaos, there remained a determination to make sure Von's death wasn't for nothing. His legacy lived on not just in his music, but in the opportunities he had created for others, and the blueprint he had established for rising above circumstances through raw talent, relentless hustle, and unwavering authenticity. This commitment to keeping Von's name alive would guide Duke and Youngin through their remaining time on Earth, influencing their creative moves, their personal relationships, and how they navigated the complex world of Chicago drill. Little did they know that their own stories would end in a way tragically similar to Von's, bodies dropped by gunfire at moments when they too were on the come-up. From O-Block to stardom, the brotherhood that defined Chicago's drill scene, in the trenches of Chicago's South Side, deep in the concrete jungle of Parkway Gardens, known in the streets and immortalized in countless bars as O-Block. A brotherhood was formed that would go down in drill rap history. 3 names emerged from these blocks to leave their mark on the game, each one carrying the weight of the streets and the hopes of their hood. King Von, Munna Duke, and Youngin. These 3 became the face of O-Block's drill movement, representing both the harsh realities of Chi-Town's South Side and the raw talent that flourished despite the environment. Before they had chains swinging, before they were pushing foreign whips, And long before the tragic endings that would send them to the other side, these young bloods were just shorties trying to navigate one of the most dangerous blocks in America. O Block, named after fallen Black Disciples member Odie Perry, had already earned its stripes as one of Chi's most treacherous territories, with 19 shootings going down between June 2011 and June 2014 alone. This was the pressure cooker where Von, Duke, and Youngin forged bonds stronger than blood. They became real ones, day ones, brothers for life. Davon Bennett, who the world would come to know as King Von, emerged as a natural shot caller among his peoples. Born in '94, Von came up in Dulles Elementary alongside many future key players in the O Block saga, including Rashawn Munna Duke Vance. Though Von was a little younger than Duke, their connection was obvious to anyone who knew them from day one.
So, do you remember exactly when you and Von first met?
First met? What you mean?
Like how old y'all was, where y'all was at?
We was young as hell. Shit. I know we was young, I know that.
Like elementary school?
Yeah, some shit like that.
Yeah. What type of kid was King Von?
Regular, what you mean? What type of kid was it? Like, what you mean?
Like what was just some of the stuff y'all used to get into for fun?
Just regular little hooping like that, man.
This shared childhood was the foundation for a brotherhood that would stand firm through some of life's most brutal tests. While Von and Duke were building their bond at Dulles Elementary, they were unknowingly laying the groundwork for what would become a cultural movement that would put their block on the global map. Those early days of bawling and running wild in one of Chicago's most notorious hoods created a loyalty between them that would remain unbreakable. Daryl, Youngin from the Jets Givens, was the youngest of the trio at 26 when he caught a case of lead poisoning in 2025. He represented the next generation of O Block talent, closely tied to King Von and cut from the same cloth, drawn to the street life and its raw expression through music. His authenticity and unwavering loyalty to the block earned him mad respect in a community where keeping it real wasn't just a saying, it was survival. The 2011 to 2012 period marked a game-changing moment for O Block and everyone claiming it. That's when Chief Keef, another product of those same blocks, blew up and took drill worldwide with bangers like I Don't Like and Love Sosa. Keef's rise showed everyone from the Gardens that there was a legitimate come-up to be had. A path from trapping in the hallways to performing on stages across the country. It was a blueprint that Von, Duke, and later Youngin would each follow in their own way. But while Sosa was making noise and changing the rap game forever, Von and Duke were on different timing. Von caught a serious case that threatened to put him under the jail, potentially ending any future he might have built. Duke was likewise caught up in the system doing bid after bid. That kept him from witnessing firsthand how their hood was becoming a landmark in hip-hop culture.
Can you tell us exactly how much time you did spend locked up?
All together?
Yeah.
Shit. I probably did like all together, I probably did like 5 years, 6 years, some shit like that.
The revolving door of the system became a regular part of life for many O Block residents, including Von and Duke. It was during one of Von's stretches on the outside, around 2017, that his path crossed meaningfully with Lil Durk, a respected rapper from Lamron who had already made a name for himself. Durk saw something special in Von, that natural storytelling ability and undeniable charisma, and took him under his wing, putting him in position to become one of drill's most compelling voices. The relationship between Von and Duke went way deeper than the typical rapper and his homies dynamic that forms around successful artists. There was genuine brotherhood between them, evident in how Von spoke about Duke and how he made sure Duke was eating with him. Success meant nothing to Von if he couldn't bring his peoples up with him, and Duke was indisputably one of his closest allies.
Bro, they made me rap, man. They made me do that shit once I got out of jail. They got that really made me do that shit, you know? But Von inspired me, like seeing what he did, you know what I'm saying? Like, that shit was unbelievable.
Duke's words revealed the profound influence Von had on his decision to start spitting. Like many who grew up where options were limited to the block or the ball court, Duke had never seriously thought about rapping until he saw Von transform from street figure to recording artist. Von's success kicked down a door that Duke might never have known existed, showing how one person's rise can completely change another's trajectory. As Von continued to level up, dropping his 2020 debut album, Welcome to O Block, which hit #5 on the Billboard 200, he kept his day ones close. He put Duke on tracks like Gang Shit and Murder, bringing his longtime brother into the spotlight and giving him a platform to showcase his own flow. These collabs weren't just about music, they were proof of the unbreakable bond between two soldiers who had survived the trenches together. Meanwhile, Youngin was building his own rep as a true voice in the drill scene. His unfiltered lyrics and authentic portrayal of life in O Block connected with fans who could smell fakery from a mile away. Though he didn't hit the mainstream numbers Von did while he was alive, Youngin earned serious respect in the streets for keeping it a buck and representing O-Block without compromise. The trio's relationship faced challenges from the system, with court orders sometimes preventing them from being in each other's presence. Von and his mentor Dirk were legally barred from hanging together due to a case they were both wrapped up in, limiting their ability to collaborate face-to-face during crucial periods.
So even when you're on tour, you can't really be around each other too much?
Nah, we can't. Nah, hell nah.
Despite these obstacles, they remained solid in their support for each other's grinds and celebrations of each other's wins. When Duke dropped his debut album, Welcome to the Jungle, in 2023, it marked a major milestone not just for him, but for everyone claiming O-Block. The album's title paid homage to the environment that had shaped him, and its content kept it 100 about the experiences of someone who had lived through the highs and lows of one of Chicago's most notorious territories. But as their stars continued to rise, the streets were watching. The same environment that had forged their unbreakable bond would ultimately send all three to meet their maker, turning their come-up stories into cautionary tales about the gravitational pull of street life. The brotherhood of Von, Duke, and Youngin would face the ultimate test through tragedy, separation, and death, yet the legacy of their connection would live on long after they were gone. History repeats, the tragic end of Munna, Duke, and Youngin, and the questions left behind. In the early morning hours of May 9, 2025, in a chilling echo of the violence that had claimed King Von's life nearly 5 years earlier, Rachan Munna Duke Vance, 31, and Daryl Youngin from the Jets Givens, 28, caught fatal slugs outside a spot called Pork Chop, located at 6331 North Broadway in Chicago's Edgewater neighborhood. Unlike Von, who got hit in Atlanta, Duke and Youngin met their maker in the city that raised them, Chicago, though significantly not in their home turf of O-Block. The hit had all the markings of a targeted operation. At approximately 1:20 a.m., at least two shooters let it off on the victims as they exited the establishment in what 5-0 immediately recognized as a deliberate hit. A third man, aged 31, caught some too, but survived the onslaught. Munna Duke succumbed to a chest wound at Weiss Hospital, while Youngin passed from multiple gunshot wounds at St. Francis Hospital. The precision and timing of the attack strongly suggested the shooters had intel on the victims' whereabouts, raising questions about how they got the drop on them so far from O-Block's Southside territory. Word of their deaths spread like wildfire through social media, sending shockwaves through Chicago's drill community and beyond. Posts on X poured out RIPs for Duke and Youngin, often connecting them to King Von and pointing out the brutal irony of their deaths, mirroring Von's own tragic end. The repeated pattern of O-Block rappers getting smoked reinforced the narrative of a cycle impossible to escape, where blowing up in music offered no shield from the consequences of street life. Among those hit hardest by the deaths was Fat Banks, also known as Miss Bucks, the mother of Munna Duke's seed and the former partner of Lil Durk's late brother D-Thang. Her Instagram tribute to Duke highlighted not just her personal loss, but the tragedy of a young father being taken from his child, adding another human dimension to the ongoing bloodshed. Asian Doll, who had been King Von's shorty and remained a vocal keeper of his legacy, also expressed grief over Duke and Youngin's murders. Her comments on the repetitive cycle of violence among young black artists resonated with many who had witnessed too many talented lives cut short. Her perspective, shaped by personal loss and industry experience, offered a sobering take on the dangers facing artists from hoods like O-Block. The parallels between the deaths of Von, Duke, and Youngin were impossible to ignore. All three had risen from the trenches of O-Block to get recognition in the music game. All three had kept it 100 with their roots even as their careers leveled up. And all three had their lives snuffed out by gun violence when their futures looked brightest. The eerie similarity of their fates raised deep questions about whether success in drill rap came with an almost inevitable tax for those who stayed authentic to where they came from. With no arrests or official statements naming who pulled the trigger on Duke and Youngin, Twitter and Instagram became breeding grounds for theories, with posts suggesting involvement from rival sets like Front Street, Taekwon World, 757, Bloodbath, and Ghoulie Gang. Some claimed that Front Street had been identified as the main suspects after allegedly flaunting O-Block chains online, a classic move to claim responsibility for a hit. However, these claims remained in the streets, highlighting the challenge of separating facts from cap in an environment where social media blurred the lines between real intel and clout chasing. What was clear, regardless of who squeezed the trigger, was that Duke and Youngin's deaths were almost certainly tied to the long-standing beef that had defined O-Block's history. The intertwined conflicts between the Black Disciples faction of O Block, and rival sets like the Gangster Disciples of Tookerville, Jarrow City, and other crews had left bodies dropping for years. The murders of Duke and Youngin appeared to be another body count in this bloody saga, despite happening far from the usual war zones of these territorial disputes. The fact that Duke had stepped up as a shot caller within O Block after Von's passing made him a high-value target. Federal paperwork from a 2024 racketeering trial had identified Duke as Individual B, a key figure in the O Block faction of the Black Disciples. This designation, while boosting his street cred, also put a bullseye on his back, making him a prize trophy for ops looking to make a statement or settle old scores. Youngin, though less documented in paperwork, had earned stripes for keeping it 1,000% real within O Block's culture and continuing the musical legacy Von had established. His growing buzz in the drill scene, combined with his tight association with Duke and O Block, likely made him a target by association. In the cold mathematics of gang beef, dropping two prominent O Block figures at once would represent a major W for whichever set pulled it off. Ironically, Duke had seemingly wanted to pull out of the game after Von's murder. In interviews, he occasionally mentioned wanting to move different and step back from the more treacherous aspects of street life, especially after becoming a father. Yet the gravitational pull of O Block's culture and the expectations of keeping it real from both the homies and the fans created pressures that were difficult to escape completely.
So, I sell drugs. That ain't me, that shit too slow. I don't like that. I don't like people, so it ain't working.
You can't just be communicating with like dozens or hundreds of junkies in a given
hate that.
day.
I don't like, I'm used to being in tour with people and being in jail and shooting at people and people being shooting at me. And I don't want to kick it. I don't want to get set up. I don't want nobody to play with me. I don't want to shoot nobody with my drugs. So now I need something to do.
This raw assessment of his options shows the limited paths available to someone with Duke's background. Music offered a legitimate come-up that didn't require the daily grind of trapping or the high-stakes risk of hitting licks, alternatives that many in his position saw as their only options. Yet even as music presented a legitimate way out, it came with its own set of dangers, especially when the content centered on real ops and ongoing beef. For Youngin, who was still on the come-up, the promise of what music could offer was likely a major motivator. His authentic lyrics and growing fan base pointed toward the potential for a breakthrough similar to what Von had achieved. The fact that this potential was snuffed out before it could fully bloom adds another layer of tragedy to his untimely death, representing not just a personal loss, but the waste of talent that might have taken drill to new heights. For the fans and friends of Von, Duke, and Youngin, their deaths represent not just individual tragedies, but a painful reminder of the brutality that continues to claim talented young lives. Each loss ripples beyond the immediate victims, affecting families, friends, and communities already carrying the weight of accumulated trauma from persistent violence. The mother of Duke's child, in her heartbreaking tribute, spoke not just of her personal grief, but of the opportunity stolen from a young father to see his seed grow, a human cost that stats and headlines often fail to capture. The legacies of Von, Duke, and Youngin extend beyond their tragic ends, however. Their music, which gave voice to experiences often ignored by mainstream media and culture, continues to resonate with listeners who find in their stories reflections of their own struggles and aspirations. The authenticity that made them targets also made them powerful storytellers, capable of conveying the complex realities of life in hoods like O Block, with nuance and depth that outsiders could never achieve. Their brotherhood, forged in the treacherous landscape of Chicago's South Side and strengthened through shared experiences of adversity and success, stands as a testament to the human capacity for connection and loyalty even in the most cutthroat circumstances. The way Von, Duke, and Youngin had each other's backs and celebrated each other's wins exemplifies the positive bonds that can form even amid the harshest conditions. In the absence of formal justice, the drill community will likely process these losses as it has so many others, through music, social media, and the complex rituals of mourning that have evolved in communities repeatedly traumatized by violence. Songs will be written, RIPs will be posted, and the memories of Von, Duke, and Youngin will be preserved through these expressions of grief and remembrance. Their names will join the long list of talented individuals claimed by Chicago's ongoing struggles with violence, from Odie Perry to L.A. Capone, FBG Duck, and countless others whose deaths have become part of the city's painful narrative. Yet they will also be remembered for their contributions to drill music, their unflinching representation of O Block, and the brotherhood that connected them in life and now links them in death. The cycle of violence that claimed Von, Duke, and Youngin continues to affect countless young people in Chicago and beyond. Breaking this cycle will require more than individual talent or determination. It will demand systemic changes addressing poverty, education, housing, and opportunity in communities long marginalized and overlooked. Until such changes occur, the tragic pattern exemplified by these three brothers in music and life will likely continue, claiming more talent, more potential, and more lives that deserve the chance to ball out. Thank you for watching this video. If you'd like to watch another fascinating video like this, click on one of the boxes on your screen right now.